Linda, I work for Twaweza. I sit in the Kampala office. It's an honor to have you all here today. Before I do my short remarks, allow me to recognize the people in the room. In Uganda right now, where we are at, in our room we have the representatives from the donor community. Danida is present. We have members of the civil society. I can see SEPA, I can see the WASH for Parliamentary Forum. I can see ACME. We have members of the media. We also have our moderator in the room, Charles Mwangusia, but we are also expecting some government representatives. I want to believe that we have similar representation in our rooms in Dar es Salaam, as well as in Nairobi. Of course, my role is really simple to put a perspective to this event today. And for that, allow me share very briefly what Twaweza is about, because for some of us are interacting with us for the very first time. Twaweza is a non-governmental organization. And
recording in progress.
We operate in Uganda, in Kenya, and Tanzania. We've been around since 2009. We approach our work from evidence generation, that is research, but also we couple that with advocacy work and action. Our vision is we believe in an open society that is built on human impulse to make a difference, where information and ideas flow, all citizens engage, and government is accountable to the people. We do our work through 3 mission statements that are interlinked. The first being, we seek to demonstrate citizen agency and make government accountable for purposes of building trust. Secondly, we generate evidence so that better decisions are made. And third, we strive to make sure that we support the strengthening of civil society sector for better legitimacy and impact. Across those 3 mission areas, we have a number of initiatives that we do implement. But for purposes of today's engagement, we are focusing on the second mission statement, which is generating evidence for better decision making. And that is, we are celebrating 10 years of Sauti za Wananchi, and today, and we're looking at the period 2013 to 2023. But Sauti was first started in 2012, as we will learn from our speakers later today. Why is this important to us? When we first started, there was the recognition and the realization that, and many of us in the room, I want to believe we share the same acknowledgement that citizens are very important in any nation. And as such, it is important that their experiences, their views, the way they interact on a day-to-day and how they access the services are considered every time government is making its decisions. Of course, at the local level, where we have the local governments in Uganda, we have the county governments in Kenya, the local governments in Tanzania, you have mechanisms in place that would facilitate citizens to engage. But of course, they come with a number of challenges. That said, when you get to the national level, the citizens' voices tend to diminish. This is primarily because you do not have a very clear pathway through which ordinary people would get their voices into those spaces. So the Sauti za Wananchi initiative came on board primarily to bridge that gap as a mechanism that uses rigorous methodology, rapid, using the telephonic surveys to collect these citizens' views and feedback them to the leaders, so that when they are making their decisions and when they are designing initiatives, programs that are benefiting the people, citizens' voices are embedded or they are taken into consideration. So it's been 10 years of doing that, and today primarily would like to take you back in time for you to interface with what has happened over this period of time. And ultimately, we are hoping that through the presentations that are going to be made, we think that you will be excited to look at some of the trends, to look at some of the patterns within the data, but also you'll be inspired to reflect and see some of the similarities that we have across Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, but also embrace with an open mind the differences and have a conversation on what we can take across the board or learn from one another. Because at the end of the day, we all strive and seek to have better countries, better communities, but most importantly, we are members of the East African community and like to see that continue over the next years, especially when we are stronger as a trading bloc, but also as a community, East African community that is better governed. I'm hoping that we will all find this interesting and will engage with insights, and I look forward to listening to your conversations. Of course, as I hand back the mic, I would like to thank my colleagues in the room that have made this happen. I know there is Jane in Dar es Salaam, here there is Martha, and in Kenya there is Josiah, and those behind the scenes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Violet. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me and then in Kenya?
Yes, we can, Aidan.
Fantastic. So I want to just thank Violet very much for introduction. Violet is our country lead for Twaweza in Uganda. My name is Aidan Eyakuze. I'm Executive Director of Twaweza East Africa, and I'm coming to you from here in Dar es Salaam. And it's fantastic to see all of you sitting here in the room in Dar. Habari zenu? And in Kenya, habari zenu? You can wave and as you enjoy your breakfast. Wonderful to see you. And in Uganda, Murimutia.
Bulungi.
Thank you. So I want to just maybe, I'm going to get into the presentation, but I want to start with a little bit something personal here. If you, those of you who follow me on Twitter, you'll see there I put in my handle a data junkie. So I'm really in my element. I love data. I love what it tells us about ourselves. I love the stories, or digging around the data to see what stories emerge. What are the patterns? What are the hidden things that mere numbers, dry numbers hide? I first heard of Sauti za Wananchi about 12 or so years ago, when I was working with Society for International Development, and we were doing a project actually on East African integration. And the one thing we thought was, we don't know what East Africans think about the East African integration. We hear a lot from presidents, from ministers, from parliamentarians, top business people, but never hear from what the citizens are thinking about this. So we asked Twaweza at that time to do a survey. What do Tanzanians think about regional integration? And their answers were very interesting, and they were so revealing for me. I just fell in love with Sauti za Wananchi. And I said this to the then executive director. And I said, I just love your data. This is fantastic. We should do more work together. Little did I know that I would end up inside Twaweza, doing more and more of this work. So it's a real pleasure. It's a real full circle to come round. And it's interesting that we're talking about to walk you through this. And then we shall have a conversation animated by 4 really good commentators. All of them are writers, journalists, observers with really sharp minds, and they'll help us really reflect on what is in here, also on what is missing. 10 years, yes, we may have done a lot of questioning, 74,000 hours of conversation, but I'm sure we have missed a lot. So what is it that is not there? How can we better understand how we are as a country of 3 countries? Or maybe we're just one person, one people living in 3 separate jurisdictions. So maybe we can have a debate about that. How similar are we? How different are we? So 10 years of Sauti za Wananchi, and as it's 10 years of really gathering and highlighting the opinions and experiences of citizens across Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And why listen? As Violet said in her introduction, oftentimes citizens' views, policies, and experiences are not really sought out, except every so often during the election cycles when politicians come to us and they say, we're going to bring this, we're going to do this for you, just vote for us, and then sit back and relax, almost. So we figured there's an opportunity for an ongoing conversation. That's back and relax. Citizens are actually, citizens are the heart of a nation, and governments exist to serve them and are ultimately accountable to them. This is the vision, especially that Twaweza is driving for: citizen-powered, people-powered government. That's what we're trying to achieve. And Sauti brings the citizens' experiences and opinions to the policymakers in a way that is rapid and rigorous. So it is statistically very, very credible, and I'll tell you why. We then form policy decisions that reflect these realities on the ground, and we've had some impact. Towards the end, I'll show you how we've had an impact on the policy decisions. And then it informs the public debate with real, credible, recent data on our views, opinions, and priorities, so that it informs the conversation about, that we have with one another in the media, in our communities, about what is going on and how we're experiencing our government. So a brief history. The first survey was done in Tanzania in 2013. And then we established Sauti za Wananchi in Kenya. I have to tell you, we were very worried about going to Kenya because there's so much more opinion polling done there. We thought, what is the value that we're going to bring to this conversation? And we found over time that we've brought a lot of interesting new insights across quite a bit of the Kenyan space, especially the public services space, which wasn't really being polled by the Kenyan posters at that time, Stedman and others. And then we went to Uganda in 2017. And here I have to acknowledge our board member then, one of our Ugandan board members then, Robert Kabushenga, who advised us on how we should approach this Sauti za Wananchi in Uganda, focus on public service delivery, on government delivery to the people. And I think it has worked very well indeed in terms of how we've engaged with government officials and government in Uganda, but also bringing the felt truth, the lived experience of Ugandans in that country, and it's been working very well. We'll tell you a little bit more about how Sauti za Wananchi helped write a music video. We actually did a music video in the COVID period, and also a song about COVID vaccination, all drawn from the insights from Sauti za Wananchi. So we survey on a wide range of themes: education, health, governance, democracy, water and sanitation, taxation, the cost of living, financial inclusion. COVID-19 was a big period for us to be able to reach and understand how people are living with this disease, climate change, and much more.